G'day viewers, how the hell are you? Welcome to Truck That episode 3. What we're aiming to do is to try and catch up on a couple of things from previous. At the end we're going to give you some homework because we want your participation. We'd certainly like you to give us a like on Facebook, to share the video and help us grow a market. We certainly want to use your input to give you better output. We need that input to hear what you want on the road. So first up, we spoke with Yogi last time. He had a bit of an issue, many of you may have seen on Facebook, where he came across an officer on the way home who wanted to argue with him over, I think it was 4 minutes.
Righto, normally I'm all happy and jovial on a Friday afternoon because I've had enough for the week and got the jakes cracking, but today, a little bit political today, Friday afternoon, because I got the shits on with the world. So yeah, so last week, Newcastle show, 100 Awareness Day, top of the pops. Can't get a better day. Wednesday, it turns pear-shaped. I get to Penong, task force, SA task force. I got wheeled with the task force there. Now they've fined me for infringement in my National Work Diary for being 6 minutes over. Now I didn't think these fines were sort of existed, but they do. So I'll tell you what happened. I left Port Augusta 8-10 days ago.
Now I've spoken to Yogi. He said that he is going to go down the request for review path initially. So again, how many of you know of that availability? If you get a ticket, you've done the wrong thing, you accept that, you've done the crime, you pay the fine. That's fine. If you believe that you have been wrongly done by, if you believe that you have reasonable grounds on which to defend your actions, then the first thing you do costs you nothing except a stamp or an email, depending on which way you reply. But on the fine it will have, here is an address for you to write and you can seek a request for review. Now on the back of those tickets it normally says, by the way, we'll let you know that only 0.1% get rescinded or get removed. And of course they're telling you that because they don't want everybody to write a request for review. So you think you've done something and you've been treated unfairly, you write a request for review. Now, as soon as you pay the ticket, if you decide, like everybody does, it's all too hard, I can't be bothered going to court, it's going to cost me too much money, they've won. That's not what we want. We also don't want to bombard them when you've done the wrong thing and you've been caught out and there's no grounds for you to argue against it. Well, that's only stupid. But if we don't stand up for our rights and seek that request for review, then we don't get a chance to get a fair go. So Yogi thinks that it was the clock problem. He went by his clock, the officer's gone by his, it's 4 minutes. Is someone going to die in that 4 minutes? No. He's written up a request for review. I'm going to have a look at it with him. We're going to send that in. Once you put the request for review in, the ticket is on hold. You do not pay the fine. As soon as you pay that fine, you've admitted guilt, finished, done, you haven't got another leg to stand on. You put in a request for review, you wait for a reply from that, and that fine is put on hold until that time, and they'll either come back and say one of two things. We ignore what you say, we don't care, you still have to pay the fine, or they're going to say, we have reviewed the ticket and we believe there are suitable grounds for us to rescind it. So those are the two things that you've got to look at in the first. I'll let you know how Yogi goes in the long term. We'll follow that up over time. So coming up after our break, we want to talk to you about phone numbers for roadside incidents and things that we must report. Back soon. G'day, back again. Now, how many of you have ever rung a road authority? You might see the phone numbers flashed up on the big message boards. It'll say report traffic incident. And of course, that's if there's an accident, if there's something really serious on the road, you can do that. But we can also use those numbers to report road conditions. You can use it even if you wish and you really need to say there are not enough rest areas. Now, there are two things that you must consider very seriously. The first is that the young lady or the bloke you're talking to on the phone is not responsible. So ringing them up and abusing the Christ out of them because the roadworks is there or because there's a pothole and you hit it and broke a wheel, all that's going to do is really put them against us, and it's probably going to do us more harm than good. Many of the times I've spoken to people about this, and I gauge the bloke I'm telling it to, because I don't want, like some bloke did coming out of Sydney one day. He said, "Oh, I've just rang up and given him a mouthful. They're doing a roadworks on a Friday afternoon." And of course the young lady just thought, what a goose this bloke is. That doesn't help us at all. But in the eastern states, Queensland, you've got 13, 19, 40. Now I've got to say, it does not hear voice in trucks very well. I've rung and put in a complaint. I did get a phone call back to say that they are reviewing it, and it is frustrating, but if it's dangerous and you want to report it, don't give up. Eventually you'll get to an operator. You normally got to dial 0. New South Wales is 13 17 00, goes to the Traffic Management Centre 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Anything, anywhere in New South Wales, you can ring up and report it. Now, of course, our view is that if there's a pothole there, New South Wales is a big place, a lot of roads, the road crews don't necessarily find them when we want them fixed. So if we ring up and say, mate, I'm 10k south of Moree and there's this really bad pothole, and I think that you should get someone onto it. And look, I'll be completely honest here, travelling up the Newell one night, and it was a bit further south of Moree, and I've said to the bloke in front, I said, God, did you hit that hole? Oh, bloody terrible. I said, mate, ring up. What number? So we went through a bit of a rigmarole. He rings up. I waited 10 minutes and I rang up. And the lady said, oh, geez, she said, must be a bad pothole this. We've had a couple of calls about that. And I said, oh, you better get it fixed. So if only one truck driver rings up, you're a whinging truck driver. If they get 5 complaints about a section of road, a major pothole, a failure, a deformation in the road that throws you out of the seat and bangs your head against the roof or something, then all of a sudden, under duty of care, they become liable to fix it. Up until they know, they could say, look, mate, we didn't know about that pothole. Nobody told us. Our crews didn't pick it up. But once we tell them, they are liable because they have been informed. You really should keep a record in some way of the fact that you've made the call. Next time you pull up, just note down in your diary, whatever you do. Rang 13 17 00, reported pothole. Now in Victoria, they go another step further. Theirs is 13 11 70, and they will give you a reference number. So that if they don't do anything about it, you can come back to them in 6 months and say, hey, I reported that 6 months ago. What's happening? So there's a whole range of things we can do to help ourselves. They're all sick of hearing from me. But if we ring up with genuine complaints, and you can't ring up and say you want them to buy your Coke at Macca's, that's not going to work. But you've got to have a genuine complaint, you've got to put it in a genuine way, and the more of us that do it, I guarantee you, the more we'll get fixed. So following on from that, I had a report during the week that a police officer was waking drivers in roadhouses at Gilgandra. Now, I haven't found anybody with personal experience yet. I believe there was a message on Facebook, so I've got to chase that up. I did ring the Dubbo Highway Patrol and ask them, and it was really good. The bloke said, geez, we don't want blokes doing that. So again, I'm not a lawyer. We don't want a lot of truck stop lawyers putting things out, ramping things up to an extent where everyone's running around saying that tomorrow the earth's going to end, or everyone's going to get a Kenworth next week. Kenworth might really like that. But you can't go out and talk rubbish. You've got to have some genuine fact behind what you want to complain about. It's the same as a road thing. If you don't do it properly, you're doing harm. If you come to us with an issue and you say, oh, I saw this bloke do something. Well, where's the ticket, mate? How many of you have heard about coppers issuing tickets for wearing thongs in a truck? Have you ever seen the ticket? Now, I can go to them and ask, but if I go and say, mate, I've had all these blokes say you issue tickets for wearing thongs, and I can't provide one, I look like a goose, and 2, they're not going to listen to us next time when we go with a genuine complaint. So truck stop lawyer is a lot of fun, but if you want to do it right, if you want to help us make improvements to our industry, and that's what we want your help, because I can't do it alone, then we need you to be genuine, and we need you to be accurate, and we need the data to back those things up. Back soon. G'day again. Now, something that's very, very important to us all is rest areas. Over 2 years ago, I approached the National Transport Commission and said we need guidelines for rest areas. There is a current document which I participated in about 10 years ago. And unfortunately, what happened at the end, they only put one diagram, and that diagram is for herringbone or sausage sizzle parking. There is an explanation of the alternative being parallel parking, like a divided road. But of course, some bloke from the government looks at the form, looks at the diagram, says, yep, that's what they want, away he goes and builds it. And that's all well and good if you do changeovers and you don't need to have a 7-hour break in a rest area on the side of the road. Otherwise, it's no good. You can't open the bunk door, someone will tear it off, you can't get any shade because they won't build us a shade sail, you can't get any breeze, and less than a metre away from you, some blokes dropping the maxis every 15 minutes to go for a pee. So that's no good at all. So the NTC have agreed. They have employed ARB, Australian Road Research Board. I heard from them only yesterday to say that they now will start work on the new guidelines. They will be calling for feedback. We'll certainly let you know when that's up. It's not open yet, but we've started the conversation. I've also already gone back to the NTC and said there is a far bigger problem. Now, I could bore you for half an hour on every rest area we've lost. South of Dubbo now at Trawilga, they've just done a deviation there. The day they started the work, I rang up and said, can we have the old road? No, the bridge is buggered. Well, why are we driving on it now? There's only going to be a few trucks on it. Surely we can keep that. No, they've completely taken it away. Goanna Hill on the way to Orange, deviations going in there. I said, can we have the old road? Haven't heard back from them. And you all know, every time they build a new bit, we lose another rest area, another parking bay. And look how hard I've been working on the green reflectors, only 16 years, Jesus. All right, so what I want from you blokes, I want to know a particular area that doesn't have enough rest areas. Is there not enough capacity in the rest areas, even though there's a few of them there? Are they full every night you pull into it? Now, I don't travel every road, I travel the Newell. Most of you would know that, Brisbane to Melbourne, occasionally get in. I've just come into Sydney, I'm heading down to Hume now. We need to know on other roads, whether you're on the Bruce, whether you're going to Perth, is there a spot where you continually think, geez, I need a rest area here, there is not enough, or these are always full? Now, with your help, we can ramp that up. I've started writing a document. In the new year, I'm going to go really, really hard on rest areas. I want your help and support. That's your homework. Now, I mentioned before, we need these rest areas for a couple of things. We need them because we're all getting older, and some of us need a pee occasionally. Now, I read a book called 10-4 and I'm Gone. An Australian bloke, started off in Tassie, went to America, ended up with his own Peterbilt and his Harley and his Cadillac. Poor bugger, did it tough. He's eventually come back now and he lives in Hervey Bay. It was a terrific book. And one of the funny things that I read in that was about pee bottles. Now, hopefully most of our blokes here have got enough common sense, and I know you've all seen the bad side where someone's gone into a toilet and forgot what the bowl's for. But, and we're getting older, we need that, and it's one of the things I push for the authorities, that we need these places to pull up, whether it's a green reflector bay on the Hume, and that wire rope's another problem. We'll come back to that another day. But this bloke talked about blokes getting out in a truck stop and just chucking their pee bottles on the ground. Now, surely we're above that. Surely you wouldn't throw them out on the road. And I had a mate say the other day, he drove into Marilla when they were mowing the grass. There seemed to be a lot of bottles there, and I don't think they were all drink bottles. Have a bit of common sense. Now, I know the problem with common sense is it's not very common anymore. I can't teach it in schools. It's up to you blokes to get your head together and do the right thing. That's all you can do. But if you're going to have one in the truck, I've got a recyclable one. I'll show you another day. But for goodness sake, don't go filling it up and throwing it out on the side of the road. You're only going to make it hard for the rest of us. Now, with that in mind, we're coming up to December next month. We'll be back again with a New Year's event. And I'd sing you jingle bells for Christmas, but I'm not a real good singer, and I haven't got a Santa hat, so I can't really get right in the pose. But wanted to wish you all the best for Christmas, a trucking good 2018, and you help us, you promote us, we'll help you. And honestly, if you can tell me there's somebody else doing it, mate, we'll get behind them as well. Spoke to Yogi, he's mad keen, he wants to do something more in the new year. If 100 blokes, and that's all we need, honestly, if 100 blokes made a bit of an effort, then I guarantee you we'll get more done. Because I can't do it on my own, need your help. All the best for Christmas, travel safe, and until next time, see you later.